Hey guys, Mario here from MTG Diagnosis, Doctor by Day, Magic the Gatherer by Night, and today I have a treat for you. I'm going to be going through my upgraded Precon from Modern Horizons 3, the newest set from Magic the Gathering. These cards are available at Vanguard Skills in Hyannis, Massachusetts. That's my Twitter, my Discord, my email. But Vanguard and Hyannis across the street from the high school, Barnstable High School. They have all the Magic cards, Pokemon cards. I think they even have Flesh and Blood now. Yu-Gi-Oh! They have a lot of different stuff. They also have Star Wars cards, Star Wars miniatures, so board games, Vanguard Skills. Say hi to Sean for me. Today, and so out of all the 4 decks, I'm going to upgrade Disa the Restless, and Disa reads black, red, green, and 2 for a 5/6. Whenever a Lurgoyf permanent card is put into your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, put it onto the battlefield. So that means if you mill a Lurgoyf or you discard a Lurgoyf from your hand, you can put on the battlefield. Her second ability says, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a Tarmogoyf token. And a Tarmogoyf token is this Tarmogoyf. It's a green creature. Power is equal to the number of card types among cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. And its mana value is 1 and a green. So basically, if you have an artifact in your graveyard, a planeswalker, a battle, a creature, instant, sorcery, land, basically there's 9 different types of cards. So if it's in your graveyard, your opponent's graveyards, you get to make these tokens. And it's basically whenever you deal damage to a player. So if you attack all 3 players every turn, you have the potential, and they deal combat damage, you have the potential of making 3 of these Tarmogoyf tokens. So I picked her because I like the graveyard synergy, and I don't have a Jund commander deck, so I'm going to try to make a Jund commander deck. And what I'll do is I'll go through the cards, and I'll also show you which cards I added in, and then I'll link. I'll put a link to the deck list in the description when in the comment section, or not in the comment section, but in the description section. And it'll be a link to the Moxfield website. So first, Disa, I've already explained her. Corum the Undertaker, he's also a very good card. He could be your commander for this. He might be the better commander. Haven't played with this deck yet, so we'll have to see how it goes. But his abilities, he's an 05 for 4. He gets plus X plus 0, where X is the greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. Whenever he attacks, each player mills a card. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that were put there from libraries this turn. So he might actually be a better choice for a commander, but for this, we're going to keep this the commander. Mortivore, Necrogoyf, Lurgoyf, Pyrogoyf, Polygoyf, Barogoyf. These are all Lurgoyfs, creature types. These are all Lurgoyfs that came in the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm keeping all 6. They have great abilities. And if you have been watching YouTube videos, the Pyrogoyf, the Barogoyf, and the Necrogoyf are the best. So if you, whenever you search your library, get those 3. Look for those 3. Okay. I added this Terragor, Terravore. It's a Lurgoyf, 3 for trample, power, and toughness, each equal to the number of land cards in all graveyards. So really becomes powerful when you start milling later on in the game. Ignorable Hierarch comes in the Precon. Eternal Witness comes in the Precon. Brawn comes in the Precon. This is great because if you mill it, all your creatures, and you have a forest in play, all your creatures get trample. Anger is even better because all your creatures have haste if you have a if you mill it and you have a mountain in play. Sir Conrad the Grim, he does damage to opponents, and that counts for the damage. That 1 damage, it's a creature doing 1 damage, so you would make Tarmogoyf tokens. Graveshifter, this also came in the Precon. It's a changeling shapeshifter, so it would count as a Lurgoyf. Archon of Cruelty came in the Precon, so keeping this. First creature we added was Changeling Outcast because it counts as a Lurgoyf. It can't block and can't be blocked, so and it's 1 for a black, and basically you're basically making a Tarmogoyf token pretty much every turn with this guy as long as this is on the battlefield. Next we added Realmwalker because it's a Lurgoyf as well, and when it enters the battlefield you choose a creature type, Lurgoyf. You may look at the top card of your library at any time and cast creature spells that shows the type from the top of your library. Toski, Bear of Secrets. We added Toski because it's going to help us draw cards. So every time we do a damage to a player, we get to draw a card with any creature. It's got indestructible. It attacks each combat if able. So I like Toski because it can't be countered, indestructible. It's got a lot of keywords. Here's a card I found in my collection that hasn't been talked about, but would work well in this. Works better if you kind of give it some kind of evasion, either flying or shroud or something along those lines, or not shroud, unblockable. Conspiracy Theorist, 1 in a red for a 2/2. When it attacks, you may pay 1 and discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Whenever you discard 1 or more non-land cards, you may exile 1 of them from your graveyard. If you do, you may cast it this turn. So you're discarding a card, you're drawing a card. If you discard a Lurgoyf, you don't even have to cast it. If you discard something else because you don't have a Lurgoyf in your hand, you can actually cast it for the rest of your turn, and helps you draw cards. So he's card draw. He's doing, if he does damage to a player, he's making Tarmogoyf tokens, and he's bringing creatures back from the graveyard. Glissa Sunslayer, this is just a great card. It's 3 for a 3/3 first strike death touch. Nobody likes blocking first strike death touch creatures. And then when you do, you get to draw a card and lose 1 life. Destroy target enchantment. I mean, there's so many strong enchantments in Commander. So, and then remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. You'll probably won't do that often, but I just love her as a way to get damage in, and nobody's blocking her, so you're making Tarmogoyf tokens. I mean, they could block her, but this is a card nobody's talking about, and I think they're sleeping on it because you can. So it's 3 for a 3/1. Cycle 1 in a black, so you could discard and draw a card. 1 in a black, discard a card from your hand, return him from your graveyard to your hand, activate only during your upkeep. I mean, that's, you have a Lurgoyf in your hand, you're discarding it, bringing this guy back to your hand, and then you're making you're bringing that Lurgoyf into the battlefield, and then you can cycle this guy to draw another card. So I think he's great for this deck. Undead Gladiator, and he's uncommon, he's cheap. Chainer Nightmare Adept. So Chainer is great for this deck because he lets you discard cards so you can cast creature spells from your graveyard. So discard a Lurgoyf. If Disa's out, you can basically discard and then put it on the battlefield after discarding a Lorgoyf, and then you can cast a creature spell from your graveyard. So let's say you milled something that's not a Lorgoyf, you can bring it back with this guy. Oh, and then his second ability is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn. So, and your Lorgoyfs have haste. Tear of the Peaks. This is great synergy for this card because if you do damage, whenever a creature comes into play, you do damage to a player, you're making a Tarmogoyf token with Disa. So you want to use the second ability to ping your opponents, not their creatures. Zayator the Incinerator at the beginning of your end step. This came with the deck. Deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens if you sacrifice another creature. So you sacrifice another creature, you do damage to the opponent, and you make 3 treasure tokens, and you make a Tarmogoyf token. So you can sacrifice a Tarmogoyf token, do whatever damage to an opponent, make another Tarmogoyf token, and then make a treasure token. Sludge Tyrant. So I added this in because mill is very important to this deck. Mill is probably the most important way to get your creatures out onto the battlefield. And when Sludge Tyrant, he's 6/6 trample. When he attacks or enters the battlefield, mill 5 cards. You may put a creature card and/or a land card from among them into your hand. So if you mill a creature and a land, you have to put a creature and a land into your hand. And if you mill a Lorgoyf, you put that right onto the battlefield. Great card for this deck. Violent Tumor. Basically, when you cast this guy, you search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. You basically search for Pyrogoyf. You put that into your graveyard. If this is on the battlefield, you get to put that into play. Oh yeah, so I added that to this deck. I added the Tear of the Peaks. I added this guy too, Doom Whisperer, because Surveil. So you can basically surveil as long as you have enough life. I mean, you can surveil as many cards as you want, and you put those all into your graveyard, and you're basically if they're Lorgoyfs, you can put them onto the battlefield. So flying trample 6/6. He's flying in trample. He's 6/6. People have a hard time blocking him. He's got flying, so he can make Tarmogoyf tokens. This came with the deck, with the Precon. Dead Bridge Chant enters the battlefield, mill 10 cards. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose a card at random in your graveyard. If it's a creature card, return it to the battlefield, otherwise return it to your hand. I mean, it is at random from your graveyard, but I mean, still, you're getting an extra. You're drawing an extra card every turn, and you get to mill 10 at the beginning. So if you get Lorgoyfs, you get to put those on the battlefield. Tarmogoyf Nest, because it gives you an enchanted land that creates Tarmogoyf tokens. Love that. Tortured Existence. Oh yeah, that came with the discount. Came with the deck. Tortured Existence. I added this to the deck because 1 black, choose and discard a creature card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And yeah, so for 1 black, you basically can return creatures to your hand, and if you discard a Lorgoyf, it goes to the battlefield. Bitter Blossom. So I added this because it's makes 1/1 fairy creatures, and with our commander, those 1/1 fairies, flying fairies, they attack people, and you can make Tarmogoyf tokens. You lose life too. I added this Parallel Lives, so every time you make a token, you create twice that many tokens instead. So you make 2 Tarmogoyfs instead of 1. Great deck for the great synergy with this deck. Greater Good actually has good synergy because not only you're sacrificing a creature, so you sacrifice a Tarmogoyf, let's say it's got 5 power, you draw 5 cards, and then you discard 3 cards, so you discard a Lorgoyf, and you can put it on the battlefield. Lightning Greaves, this came with the deck, gives your creatures haste and shroud, equip 0. Maskwood Nexus. This came with the deck. Basically, it makes all your creatures into Lorgoyfs. Mesmeric Aura. Basically, whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. So not only helps you put stuff in your graveyard, but it also helps your opponents. It helps add cards to your opponent's graveyards so that you can use that synergy for your Tarmogoyfs. Anduril, Sword of the Flame. Basically, when it equips, creature gets +3/+1. If you equip it to a legendary creature, you make 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, and basically those can be attacking and those are attacking as well. Great for making Tarmogoyf tokens. Zephyr Boots. Nobody's talking about this, but this is great for this deck because it's 1 to cast, 2 to equipped, which is pretty low. Gives your creature flying, so it gives some evasion. And then when an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. You're discarding, so it's perfect for this deck. I added this Conduit of Worlds. Great artifact for this deck. You may play lands from your graveyard. Tap, choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. I mean, say if you have a dead hand or something, you tap that, get a permanent out of your graveyard, and Grist the Hunger Tide, we left this in. This came in the Precon. Helps with evasion, helps with milling, and also you can destroy something for its -2. Liliana Death Majesty, we left this in because her +1 mills. Her -3 returns creature cards from your graveyard. -7, I don't think you'll ever do that, but so we left that in. The 2 battles we added because we need to have battle types. Invasion of Urgamon and Invasion of Ozgol. Invasion of Ozgol basically enters the battlefield, target player sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker and loses 1 life. And then create a treasure token, then you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So just wanted to add these because they're cheap battles. Don't have the expensive battles, and I found these, so I couldn't find the other one. But they're 2 to cast. They end up in the graveyard. That makes your Tarmogoyfs one power stronger and toughness stronger. Faithless Looting, we left this in. Grizzly Salvage, we left this in. This came in the Precon. Tempt with Mayhem, I left this in because it sounds like a great card. I mean, it's an instant, it's 3 to cast. Let's say one of your opponents is trying to go tutor. You cast this. How many of your other opponents, and that opponent too can tutor twice. Your opponents, all of them are going to want to tutor. So you cast this, all 3 of your opponents tutor. You get to tutor 4 times. So I like it because, you can pick and choose which spells to. Also, if somebody's trying to blow something up of yours, cast this and see how many. And if you're not, you're not casting that if you're the arch enemy, but most chances this deck is mid-range or slow. You're not going to be the arch enemy. Chandra's Ignition, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. You use Disa and you're doing 5 damage to each creature plus to each opponent too, and so you're making 3 Tarmogoyf tokens. And it's a good removal spell. That came with the deck too. Chandra's Ignition. Assassin's Trophy, we added this because it's a great removal spell at instant speed. It's 2 to cast. Abrupt Decay, we also added this because it's a great removal spell, instant speed. Tear Asunder is a great removal spell at instant speed as well, and you can kick it or you can just use it, and it exiles an artifact or enchantment. So you can exile an artifact or enchantment, or you can exile a non-land permanent instead if you kicked it, and exiling is so important. I added this to the deck, Change of Fortune. Basically, discard your hand, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. So, if you do a Faithless Looting, you discard a card, you draw 2 cards. Let's say you didn't draw anything good, you cast this, you discard your hand, you also get to add a draw a card for the card you discarded to Faithless Looting. So, discard, like I said, anything that gets stuff into your graveyard is good. Incarnation Technique. This is a great card. Saw this on YouTube on the Spike Feeders YouTube channel being played. I don't think anyone else has been utilizing this like they did on Spike Feeders. So if you have a chance, check out their YouTube channels, the Spike Feeders. They play Commander there. 5 for Demonstrate, which means when you cast a spell, you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent who also copies it. Mill 5 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I mean, it's great. Mill, return creature. I added that. Check out the Spike Feeders on YouTube if you have a chance. Buried Alive is great because you basically, for 3 mana, search your library for 3 Lurgoyf cards, put them in your graveyard, and they all go into the battlefield because you've put them in your graveyard from your deck. Reanimate, I added this because you're milling a lot, so you're going to have a creature that goes in there that you're like, oh, I wish I had not milled that. But also, get your opponent's creatures too. So, target creature card from any graveyard. Entomb, it's a black, search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. Add that in. Unmarked Grave, because you can search your library, and so if you have Disa out, you can add Lurgoyfs. 3 visits, I put this in as ramp because you can search your library for a forest. And forest cards can be triomes or anything that says forest on it. It doesn't have to be a basic. This Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Talisman, the 3 Talisman, these all came with the deck, so I just left these in. These 5. I added these 2 lands, the Sulfur Springs and Corplusian Forest, because they're cheap and they also do mana fixing, even though they do a damage to you. I added these 2 lands in, even though they come into battlefield tap, because they're artifact lands. So if you mill them, you get an artifact and a land into your and you're indestructible into your graveyard. So, Reliquary Tower, I added this just in case we have a really big hand from like Greater Good. Daragos Caldera, this is a card I found in Dominaria Remastered, and basically enters the battlefield, return a non-layer land card to its owner's hand, and it can add, it doesn't come into play tapped, it adds Junt. And let's say you have a Faithless Looting or something where you want to discard, but you don't want to discard anything in your hand. Play this, put a tapped land into your hand, discard that. Zayator's Proving Ground, that's a triome, and you can cycle it if necessary later in the game. Raucous Theater, this is great because you surveil. It comes into play tap, but you can surveil. Counts as a swamp and a mountain. Sheltered Thicket counts as a mountain and a forest. And it enters the battlefield tapped, but it has cycling. Yeah, so then those are all the lands I added. These lands all come in the deck. Sheltered Thicket, Canyon Slough, the Temples, Temple of Malice, the Scrylands, Temple of Malady, Temple of Abandon. Savage Land, this comes in as a tapped version of the Triome. Well, actually, Triome you can't cycle. Smoldering Marsh. Oh, and then it's not a Triome because it doesn't have all 3 land types on there. Smoldering Marsh, you 2 more base, it's a check land. So all these came with the deck. the Bog, Twisted Landscape, Command Tower, Darkmoor Salvage. It's got Dredge, Kessing Wolf Run, Myriad Landscape, Terramorphic Expanse, Outlook, Path of Ancestry, Evolving Wild, and then I kept in 3 basic swamps, 3 basic mountains, and 3 basic forests. So all in all, there is, let's see, how many, I'm going to tell you how many total lands are in here. I think 37. Try not to mess with the lands. 6 ramp cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Yeah, 37 lands. And that's it. That's my Disa deck. Probably could switch Korum for Disa. Biggest difference is Korum actually cares about the power of the creatures in your graveyard. And you get to play cards from your opponent's graveyards. They discard. And she makes Tarmogoyf tokens whenever you do damage to opponents. So let me know what you guys think. There's 2 other cards I was thinking about putting in. Renin 6 and Renin 7. Renin 6 because you can return lands from your graveyard to your hand. -1 to do 1 damage to a target. It's good to ping little creatures. And then Renin 7, the +1, you get to basically discard cards to your graveyard, but you keep lands. 0, you put land cards from all your land cards in your hand into the battlefield, and then -3, make a tree folk. But I had to put in Terra from the Peaks, Terra of the Peaks, as a better synergy card. And yeah, and same for Renin 7, Renin 6. I put in the Changeling Outcast instead, and had to have 2 battles just in case, nobody's playing battles. You have to put a battle into the graveyard. Make sure those Tarmogoyf tokens are nice and strong, nice and big. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think about this deck, what you would add, what you would subtract, what I got right, what I got wrong. Really appreciate your input. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.